What if another person out there struggling with themselves, their identity, not as confident and secure as I am? What if they came here looking for a recipe and instead they saw this heinous rhetoric directed at me and by proxy at themselves? I just can't let that stand.
Hey, welcome to the show. It's Beyond the Red Dot. This is the show where I get to talk to people who have been on the TEDx stage and to hear sort of how they got there, what their experience was like, but also where they've taken their idea and what's happened in their life since. My guest today is Matthew Bounds, although you probably know him along with his millions of other followers on social media as your Barefoot neighbor. Now, his TEDx talk, a recipe for aggressively positive online communities, made a little bit of a splash. I love the idea that he brought to that stage. And it was really about how to make social media better for everyone. But we'll get into that in a moment. It's funny, though, for somebody who is a social media influencer and cooks for millions of people every day, Matthew, you had actually left social media, hadn't you?
Yeah, yeah, I had. I got off social media following the 2020 election. Um, Things were so contentious. I just felt like I needed a break. So I had made my mind up I was going to do it, and I stayed through election day. And as soon as it was all settled and they announced the results, I was like, all right, I'm done. And I deleted everything, and I was offline for about a year and a half. Yeah, I had no online presence. I didn't have Facebook, nothing.
So when you came back, though, I know you told me that you kind of just sort of you came back really just to like your friends' dog photos and videos and those sort of
Yeah.
things. But knowing what you had been able to get away from, when you came back, what was the mindset you decided to bring with you so that it could be a better experience?
Uh, Take no shit. Can I cuss on this podcast? Okay.
Yeah, it's just on YouTube.
Okay.
You're fine.
Yeah, I came back knowing, well, a lot of people know this. I was not originally going to be a cooking channel. I was going to do DIY, and I was doing like yard work and stuff. And kind of the same mission I have with cooking now. I wanted it to be really approachable stuff. We were building really simple things in the garage, and I wanted people to see that they could do what I was doing without any real special tools or equipment. And I wanted it to be that really encouraging environment, but I also knew I wasn't gonna take anything. Like we were really gonna draw a hard line on how we're gonna act here in this space.
Yeah, and so your TEDx talk, we'll get into how you became a TEDx speaker, but that idea was with you at the beginning of making an aggressively positive online community. So I have to know, I get that you didn't want to take any crap from anybody, but what does it mean to have an aggressively positive? Because that doesn't sound like it goes with cursing, but it does, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've got a mouth on me. You're just never gonna break that out of me. So I found out early on it's just who I am. So we're gonna cuss in my videos. I think it's all about the intention behind it. You know, it's the intention about behind what you're saying and what you're conveying. Um, Also, yeah, aggressively positive. This is a really positive space. We encourage one another. We lift each other up, and uh, I don't see a problem with getting a little buck with people who want to come in and challenge that and be Debbie Downers. No, I'm going to tell you exactly where you can take that those
It was
comments.
what I think one of the first videos I ever saw of you when I was like, oh, this person is doing this in a much different way, was a video where you were sort of telling people that they couldn't come for somebody just because they didn't know something or because they asked a question and why were they so rude to them? And then you were like, gay people eat too, so I'm gonna cook for, you're gonna deal with gay
Yeah,
people cooking. And then the last thing you were like, and guess what? Not all of us are gonna make biscuits from scratch. We can use canned
yeah,
biscuits if we have to. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so aggressively positive from the big sort of big, political ideas
yeah,
the down to literally something like, oh, you're going to be a snob because somebody's not making scratch biscuits. I love that you've made your place like so inclusive. In fact, your audience like does a lot of that work for you, don't they?
They do. Oh yeah. They there are times when I will catch a comment and sometimes most of the time I just my people never see them. I just delete them and we all move on. But every once in a while I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let them catch the heat for a little while. And yeah, I let them sit there for about half an hour and take it from my audience because they will eat them alive and spit them out. And then I'm like, okay, now, okay, you've seen how we act here. I'll delete you and block you now. So, yeah. And well, you know where all that came from, is when I was teaching myself to cook. That was my pandemic project. Uh, a lot of people have heard that story. I decided I wanted to learn how to cook, and I would go on YouTube and I would watch these people cooking, and it was already super intimidating because they're cooking all this crazy stuff from scratch that it just blows my mind. And there's so many gaps because these are people who know how to cook. They've been doing it a long time, and they just assume you know how to do certain things. And I'm like, whoa, 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 wait, back up, because I don't even know how to do I don't even know how to get to that step. So naturally, you go into the comments to see what are other people saying, like, are maybe somebody has a tip in there or something, and the comments are always just full of it's the internet, so it's just full of these people just you didn't do this right and you didn't do that right and or if I did find a video of something that was a little more accessible that I feel like I could do, the comments would be like, what a joke, you just opened a can, like that's not real cooking. And then that makes me feel bad because I'm like, well, is that not real cooking? So I always knew, like when I started cooking for the camera, I was like, okay, we are not having any of that in my comment section. I don't want someone who doesn't know how to cook to be in my comment section and feel intimidated by the rest of the crowd. So that's a big reason that I really try to weed it out.
Yeah, and to me that's one of the secrets of your success. The other part is you're just very natural on camera, and it strikes me that you've had an interesting career path and have done all these really cool service-oriented jobs, like working in casinos and restaurants and all of those things that are probably that I know are super hard jobs, right? But they're working right directly with people. Did you ever, and I think I know the answer to this, did you ever think before you got the message, hey, do you want to give a TED? Did you ever think you're like, I'm going to give a TEDx talk one day?
No, hell no. Absolutely not. Well, because I told you, you caught me in my year of yes. I mean, that was 2023 was the year that things were starting to pick up for me a little bit. I still had a 9 to 5, but I had gotten the opportunity to write that first cookbook. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to say yes to everything that comes my way and just see what happens. And that's how I ended up with the TED Talk. I have a huge fear of public speaking. I don't mind getting in front of the camera, but to be live in front of a crowd, so much anxiety. It's followed me all the way from high school. I used to take zeros in high school on if we had to stand up and give a presentation, I'm like, I'm out, give me a zero. I will not do that. Yeah, that was not even on my radar. But when you emailed me, I was like, we're saying yes to everything. So I was like, immediately yes, I'll figure it out. We'll just get it done.
Sometimes I get speakers who I'm helping to, get to apply or to even get ready for a TEDx stage, and they'll say, like, does it really take 5 or 6 months? Like, yeah, I like you're shaking your head. Are you happy? You're probably one of the people who's like, I'm so glad I had that much time to get ready.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And procrastination is like my number one skill. So, and you were my coach. So like I felt so bad for you because you'd be like, hey, are you ready for this next, checkpoint? Have you gotten this part written or have you done this? And I'm like, okay, I'll have it done by tomorrow at noon. Like,
Well, well,
yeah,
I hope I'm gentle in that way, but also firm to get you. And
you
I mean,
kept
obviously,
me,
we got you across the line, so it
you
obviously
did.
worked. It worked. You know,
Yeah.
um, how has it helped you then with your public speaking? Obviously, a lot of people who come to me are like they are raring to go to be a public speaker, but there are some people who are like, I've been asked to do this and I'm not sure whether I want to. How has it helped you?
It changed everything for me. Man, let me tell you, the nerves, like I was racked. But once you get out there and you start going, it's great. It's totally fine. The crowd, it's not I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is a TEDx talk is not a normal, hey, just get up here in front of this group of strangers. You've already been introduced to a lot of these people. You've met them over Zoom in the months leading up to it. You know who the speakers are. Y'all did a great job the day before the talks, getting us all acquainted, icebreakers. We had lunch together. We spent the whole evening together. Um, you watch these other people who have nerves just like you do, who are trying to remember their lines just like you are. You're all kind of doing it together. So by the time you get to the day of and you get up there, you're friends with all these people. And if you are one of the, like, I was the very last one to go. So I had a whole day to watch these other people and cheer them on. And so it took a lot of that pressure off. And, the audience is really supportive. Like they really want you to do well and they want to cheer for you. So I think if you're apprehensive about public speaking, as crazy as it sounds, a TEDx talk is the way to get into it because there's so much hand holding and like encouragement to get you through it. Uh, and after that, I'm great. I have spoken on stage at so many events in front of a bigger crowd than the TEDx crowd, and I'm totally fine. I still have nerves, like leading up to it, but the minute I walk on stage and they hand me the microphone, um, it's great. I'm like, yep, I'm here. You're gonna have to come take the mic away from me now, because like I'm a ham and I got plenty to say. So
Well,
yeah,
and you always
it's
sort of have that fallback story. Like you've learned how to
yeah.
tell your story and then talk about it. It's interesting to me. Like I know you were intentional with how you have been curating your own social media life and presence and the videos you put out and the things you put into the world. But did it help you to sort of like actually distill your philosophy into this TEDx talk and really see more like clearly, even almost have like a 10-minute mission statement now? Like, this is what I know I'm doing. How has that helped you as you keep developing and evolving?
Yeah, it was a big help. It it really forced me to spend 6 months studying, like, okay, because like I said, this all kind of happened when I was on the upswing and I was really figuring things out. And so it really helped me think hard about the future and like what do I want all this to be and who do I want to be known as, like uh this is what I've been doing. How do I take it forward? Yeah, it was really instrumental. And
You
I still
know,
think about my TED talk sometimes.
yeah.
Like some days when I'm not
Go
sure,
ahead.
when I'm like, yeah, some days I'm like, I don't know, do I need to, because you can't respond to everything. You just can't. But every once in a while, I do like to respond to some negativity or something, just because I like to set the record straight. I like people to know where I stand on things, and so sometimes I'll think back on my TED talk because I remember most of it. So I'll say,
Yeah.
well, I did stay, give me a stick of butter, less than 5 minutes. You know, that was my whole shtick. So
Yeah.
is that still what we're doing? Yeah, it's
You know,
really,
it what I think is really amazing, and you figured this out even before your TEDx talk. But I'm interested to hear how you've kept going with this. Is that you have the great online community of people, lots and lots of engagement, millions of people that follow you that are throwing some shit in a crock pot with you almost
yeah.
daily, right? And who are buying your cookbooks. You've had very successful cookbooks and another
Hmm.
one coming. But you also have taken that success offline to make it actually helpful to people in your community. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you've been able to do in the Gulfport area there in Mississippi and how that following of people who love you and enjoy your personality and like to cook with you, how you've been able to turn them into like this super powered group of sort of volunteers and donors.
Yeah. It started small. my first year online when I was first getting followers. I knew I wanted to do something with it. So I told everybody I want to put together one bed for one kid in foster care. And they ended up raising enough for three beds. And I thought, that's incredible. So then for my 40th birthday, I said, I want to do 40 beds for kids in foster care. And they did it, you know. And I was like, okay, we're on to something here. So it's just growing and growing and growing. And we do a lot of work with the kids in foster care here in my area, but we do a lot of work with other organizations as well. And most recently, we did a food drive for Back Bay Mission for their food pantry. And like it's almost become, I hate to call it a game because it's not a game, it's very serious what we do, but it's almost like a challenge now for my audience because if I put up an Amazon wish list, it's like they want to see how fast can we just get rid of it, like buy it out, get it done, and then go bigger. Like they're never satisfied, and I love that. And this last one, they bought the first list out in 17 minutes. I put up the back, because I knew they were going to do it. I had a backup list, and they put it out in like 5 minutes. And so then I was just adding stuff. They didn't want to stop there. You know, people were DMing me and they were in the comments and they were like, I just saw the video. I didn't get a chance to do it. Put more stuff on there because I want to add to it. So yeah, I don't know what the secret sauce is. I don't know. I just know that my audience is really plugged in to doing these fundraisers and stuff and helping out. And they're super, super generous and they love it. You know, if I go too long without, because I don't want to, I mean, I could probably do it every day. I have some calls every day I want to help, but I don't always want to come to my audience asking for something. So I try to limit it. And if I go too far in between, people start DMing me and like commenting and they're like, when are we doing another wish list? When are we doing another fundraiser? Like, what are we doing? We want to do something. So yeah,
Yeah,
they're great.
I think it's part of that secret though of what you've created as a community of people. There are plenty of people who are creators online who seem very sort of arm's distance away and they don't really connect with their audience, which is fine because they're doing something that doesn't need them to do that. But your audience wants to have another way to interact with you. And part of that is they can do a good thing, but you also give people permission to be better versions of themselves, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of high minded for a guy who literally is teaching us how to make casseroles in a crock pot half the time. But that's just the thing you're doing that connects with people, which we all need to eat. So that nourishing
Mhm.
is lovely, but you're also nourishing other parts of people. And you're letting people who desperately want to connect with the world and help each other in a rather disconnected world, you know, what you were responding to by leaving social media all those years ago and then
Mhm.
coming back with a much more intentional mindset. I mean, that's
Yeah.
affecting a lot of people. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you just don't realize how many people have now taken that inspiration and said, you know what, I mean, Matthew won't know about it, but I'm going to go help the foster kids in my neighborhood. You know, I
I've
mean,
had a
like
lot
how
of
many,
people actually DM me stuff like that or email me and tell me that you know what they saw what we were doing and they were like, that's a great idea. I'm going to go take it back to my own community. So yeah, I love seeing people do stuff like that. It really makes me happy. And I think you're right. I think I've discovered this, you know, a lot of people want to help and they want to do something, but like they work, they have kids, they've got softball, and they've got, you know, they're traveling and they've got all this stuff going on. Um, and here I am, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do all the back end work. I just need you to do 3 clicks, buy an
yeah.
item. I'll handle the rest of it. And I think giving somebody that really easy way to pitch in and help is a big part of it too.
You know, you've done some other things where I know you've shared profits from your cookbooks. Also, other monies that you've brought in, you've
Mhm.
put that toward different charitable causes, and that again just reminds the audience that there are ways that, you know, by connecting with somebody who they see as their good friend, you know, their barefoot neighbor, they get to they
Yeah.
get to then also positively affect the world.
Mhm.
So we're all coming out in a positive way at the end. I mean, how has that helped you personally like emotionally as a human being? You know, obviously 2020 emotions were high, but the person you were in 2020, I imagine, is way different than the person you are now.
Oh yeah, I'm a much different person. I was, and I've told this story before on social media, but I was super unpleasant to be around. I worked a really stressful, chaotic job, which I thrived on. Like I really loved that rush, but we worked these crazy long hours, and uh, it was really stressful. And just between that and all the negativity on social media and everything in the news, I really got to this point where, uh, CJ flat out told me one day, he's like, you got to figure something out because you're really not a happy person. And I was like, damn, to hear it from your significant other, like I knew it, but to hear it, so that's where I decided to really try to make a change. And I mean, a lot of people that meet me and hear about that are like, I could never imagine you not being this, happy go lucky person that you are. And I'm like, you got to work at it though. There's still a lot of days where I'm online chronically now because it's my job, and you see so much and you get so much negative feedback. And that a lot of people don't realize that. I might make a little clapback video to a negative comment, and I'll get a lot of people that are like, oh, you should just ignore that. That's just, one in a million. And I'm like, you didn't see the 500 other negative comments that I deleted and
Yeah.
y'all never knew about in the past week. Um, so it really takes a toll on you. So it takes work. It really does. You gotta work at it. You gotta be intentional about it.
So would you suggest if somebody's like wanting to start doing things on social media, being a content creator, that's one of those things that kids nowadays actually, if you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, a lot of them do say content creator. Like,
Yeah.
what would be your recommendations in terms of how they get themselves ready? And I don't mean like the technical part of it, they can figure all that
Mm,
out, but what's the sort of emotional preparation to go out there and do that and protect yourself from that
hmm
kind of reaction?
Don't go down the rabbit hole of replying to everyone. Just block them and move on, especially in the beginning. You'll get to a point where you feel confident enough in what you're doing. And if you feel like you want to reply, then that's fine, but do it sparingly. Nobody, I've seen too many content creators spiral and go down that rabbit hole of replying to every negative comment.
Mm,
Just, it's cool once in a while, everybody's like, yeah, get them, but you, you gotta tread that fine line. You can't do that too often, especially if you want to keep a positive experience about you. So yeah, just don't spend any time on it. If you're doing what you enjoy and you believe in what you're doing, put it out there. People are going to have something to say about it. They always are. Block them and move on. Eventually, you're going to find your crowd. Your crowd's going to
yeah.
find you, and a lot of that is just going to. I get a lot less negativity now than I used to. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic because you got a lot more engagement now, obviously,
hmm
as continue to grow and that's part of that's because of the great opportunities you've had. So, you do a TEDx talk and then one book turns into a second cookbook and now you have a
hmm
third one on the way. So, did you expect that was going to happen when
no,
you were starting this out?
no. When I got the opportunity to write that first cookbook, I had, had really not. Excuse me. I had not even really leaned into the cooking part of it yet. I was still kind of messing around with some other content. And anyway, I wrote that book, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're officially a cooking channel now. Let's really lean into this. And I remember setting a goal for myself. I want to sell this many cookbooks by the end of the year. And I thought if I could do that, that would be successful. And I sold that many cookbooks before the end of the first month that it was out. And I was like, oh, people are really buying this. Okay. And yeah, so the following summer, 2024, we wrote another one. I self-published that one, and it did so well. It got to number one on Amazon, and then Penguin Random House called me up, and they bought it and signed me for a third one, which we are working on right now it'll be out next year. So also made the
It,
New York Times bestseller list. Thanksgiving Eve, they called me. I was right up there next to Martha Stewart.
that is just the surreal part of it, right? Like
Isn't
that
it?
it's possible to go back to social media with a very specific positive attitude of how you're going to do it. You're not going to take any
Hmm.
prisoners, and you're going to make yourself welcoming to all people who want to be there and can be respectful of everyone else, right? And then that
Right.
turns into these great rewards, which are lovely. I know you're very blessed uh, with this ride, but you also are getting to accomplish things. So, tell me what else is going on. Can you tell us anything else you have specifically planned, or new things you want to work on, or maybe other speaking opportunities you've had, or may have coming forward because you said yes to everything that one year and have just kept pushing forward.
Yeah, saying yes to everything that one year. I mean, it's not an understatement to say that it changed my life. That was the year I said yes to writing the first cookbook. That was the year I said yes to be on doing a TED Talk, uh, and it just launched me into all this other stuff. And it's funny because every once in a while I get that imposter syndrome creeping in, and I feel a little overwhelmed, and then it pops back in my head. I'm like, dude, bro, you did a TED Talk. You are a New York Times bestseller. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Get up, like, go. So, yeah, it really put me on this trajectory. As far as other projects, yeah, I've got the other book coming out with Clarkson Potter, Penguin Random House, spring 2026. I think it's not 100% yet. I think we may be writing another self-published book this summer. I've got a lot of people asking me for it and for specific themes, so I'm working on that. Um, what else? I'm speaking at Gulf Coast Equality Fest. I'll be on stage speaking there in October again. Um, I've got something else. I just signed up for it. I can't remember what it is. I don't know. Something else
Well,
this summer. I'm
you've got
speaking somewhere else this summer. I can't
You've
remember.
got great opportunities. So, it's funny when you think like, a lot of people who want to be a TEDx speaker are doing it because they're wanting to fuel their speaking career, right?
Hmm.
So it's fun to hear what's happened to somebody who wasn't even looking for that, right? Like those
Yeah.
opportunities that have come along and that we know you're now really available to be able to do that. I've seen you on several local television sort of cooking spots, which is really exciting to see you getting on camera and feeling comfortable
Yeah.
with yourself in a studio. Because I know you're used to working in your own. Well, originally you
Hmm.
worked in your own kitchen, but
Right.
no one was around. And
Yeah.
did you used to tell your husband he had to leave so that you could like film and he wouldn't be there to even hear you or anything?
Oh yeah, yeah. In the beginning, I couldn't even have anyone in the room. Like he had to go in the bedroom and shut the door and turn the TV on, turn it way up, or he had to just leave the house. Uh, I'm at a point now where a few weeks ago, a good friend of ours was in town visiting, and she stayed a few days, and I was like, all right, I got to go to work. So I go out in the garage to my film set now, and I'm like, I'm gonna shut the door, y'all. I'm gonna be out here filming. And she's like, oh wait, I want to come watch. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So she pulls up a chair. And she's right off camera, just watching me do my thing, mess up my line 17 times in a row. And yeah, it's a lot of fun when you get to that really comfortable point. Um, the news, I did a news interview last weekend. I was at Shandy Fest at the local brewery, and I was out there doing a meet and greet, and I was a few beers deep. And the local news comes up, and they were, doing a piece on the event. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to do a quick interview?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." It's so nice having that comfort now to, speak to people, and I don't freeze up. And I think now I yap a little too much. So we did we did I did a talk at the University of Southern Mississippi Coast Campus Library a few months ago. They wanted me to come give a talk on content creation as a career. Like, what does it take? How to get started? All that. And I asked her, I was like, how long do you want me to speak for? And I was thinking it was like a 15-minute talk. And she was like, well, the last guy went for an hour. And I was like, oh. So, um, Yeah, I showed up and we got going, and I spoke for an hour and a half, and then stayed another 45 minutes taking questions. And
Oh.
I think everyone in the room was more than happy for me to wrap it up. So yeah, yeah,
Well, maybe what we have to work on next, uh, you'll come to me and we'll work on brevity. We'll like figure out
yeah. There you
how
go.
do you shorten it up?
Let's
I
boil
we've
it down. Yeah,
we've created a monster.
we
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Well, listen, you are using this power for good. We see a lot of people using social media to hurt people and tear people down. They use that connection they build with people around the world just to fuel themselves and give themselves accolades, but you're passing that along to other groups in your community, to other people. I know you support other creators all the time. I see you calling out other content creators and showing off, and when do a somebody's recipe off of Pepper the app, you're always like, highlighting them, and you're always so nice about like, oh my gosh, this was really good, or hey, I hope you don't mind, but I added this to it. Like you're
Yeah.
like talking to them and they're not even there. I always love seeing that. And I know I'm just excited to see where you keep going, because I think the world needs positive people, especially even reluctant ones who
Hmm.
didn't even think they would ever get up on a TEDx stage, but have created something that people can really use and bring to their own life however they would use it. Not necessarily have to be as a content creator, but in their own life of being, aggressively positive. You've been nicknamed. What was the nickname someone gave you?
Oh, what did they call me? A swearing Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, like which to me
Yeah,
is actually so perfect because it
I
is
love it.
that lovely inclusive. But you're that swearing version of Mr. Rogers.
It's the
It's
best
it's
compliment
so
I've ever
good.
received.
Isn't that a great compliment? So,
It's
well,
great.
listen, thank you so much for being here today, Matthew. Folks, you should check him out. You are Barefoot Neighbor all over social media, and I think your website's now yourbarefootneighbor.com. Is that right?
Yourbarefootneighbor.com. Hey, real quick,
Yeah,
can I tell them
plug.
about the complete mishap with my TED Talk, because I want them
Yeah,
to hear it. Okay,
yes,
so
because it would be very helpful for people to know about this. Yeah, go ahead.
Tim knows this. So the whole 6 months we rehearsed, Tim, you and I, it was going to be this really like I was going to be real like energetic, and we were going to be loud, and I was going to be kind of all over the stage, and that was really the vibe we were going for, and that's how I practiced it. That's how I wrote it. That's how I rehearsed it. Um, the week of the TED Talk, I got deathly ill, and I came down to Florida, and I could barely speak. As soon as I started talking, I had this horrible cough, and it would come up, and I would just go into these coughing fits. And so I couldn't make it through rehearsal that night. We tried and tried and tried. I only made it halfway through, and we finally were like, okay, you know what? Like, this is not happening tonight. So the next day I get up, and it's still bad. And I mean, I'm watching the minutes tick by while everyone else is giving their talk, and I'm backstage, and like people are bringing me every crazy remedy. Like, what did somebody tell me to eat marshmallows? So we sent CJ to Walmart to get marshmallows, and I'm like chomping on marshmallows. So I think somebody else told me to eat pineapple or something. We were doing everything we knew how to do. And I was so drugged up. I had so much cold medicine coursing through my veins. And right before I went on stage, Tim comes up, and they're miking me up, and he's like, "Are you going to be able to give your talk?" And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make it. You know, I can barely speak. So Tim's like, "Okay, you know what? Do it, do it kind of like serious. Like, don't do the upbeat thing. Kind of do it more as like a quiet, kind of a more intimate version of your talk." And I'd never rehearsed it that way before. And literally, he told me that 30 seconds before I go on stage. So then, so I go on stage and I give it completely unrehearsed that way. And I had a cough drop in. And if you watch my TED Talk, my tongue is fire engine red. My whole mouth is.
Yeah, you're
So,
matching the carpet. Yeah, you're totally
yes.
matching the whole aesthetic.
And so we did it though. We made
And
it
it
through, and I
works.
think it came out great. I think if you would not have given me that suggestion, I don't know what I'd have done. I would have
No.
completely bombed. I wouldn't have been able to make it through the talk. So we made it all the way through the talk, and I mean, as people are doing the standing ovation, and I'm going off stage, I'm like ripping the mic off because I can feel it coming, and I'm like going into coughing fits. So yeah, it worked out perfectly. So yeah, if anybody else is thinking about giving a TED talk, don't worry. You're going to make it. Like somebody's going to figure something out for you. They're not going to let you bomb.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
All right. Thanks.